I will admit that I have fun hating on the Dallas Cowboys like a lot of other people do. This overblown media hype. I call them the Dallas Bears because, I mean, that's basically who they are now. Is the Chicago Bears of Texas. Talking about championships that happened decades ago. I mean, just like the Bears. Key difference, if anything, is they're even worse because unlike the Bears, they have an owner that will spend whatever it takes. Look at the stadium. Jerry Jones has no problem spending money and investing money in his team. They have an owner that actually cares about winning. Doesn't mean he knows how the hell to do it, but they have an owner that cares about winning, unlike the Bears. And the Cowboys have a really good history at the quarterback position, unlike the Bears. So if anything, in the past couple of decades, the Cowboys are even worse. No matter how much the media pounds them down your throat and always puts them into a primetime feature spot, the Cowboys could be fucking 4-10. It's America's game of the week! Whatever. That said, though, last season, I thought there was a chance that the Dallas Cowboys could come out of the NFC. I really did. Because their schedule was pretty soft. So if they took advantage of the soft schedule, they'd be in good shape. And I thought this was a balanced team offensively and defensively. You had Dak coming back from the injury. There was a chance there. And when we watched that opening night game against the Buccaneers, granted, they lost, but they looked pretty damn good. And that's where I was thinking, yeah, this absolutely might be a contending team. And they did well to take advantage of the soft parts of their schedule. They did end up finishing 12-5, and 4 of their 5 losses were to playoff teams. So going into the playoffs, I thought the Cowboys were at least going to win a playoff game or two, but they totally shit the bed in the wild card round at home against the 49ers, period. Like, Dak was bad, their defense was bad. They just crapped the bed, totally. It happens, but they absolutely did. And now you get to the offseason, and it brings a number of changes to this team. Like, clearly the Cowboys were in a mode of, we need to fix our salary cap situation. Amari Cooper was traded for peanuts to the Cleveland Browns. Understand, you still have Michael Gallup, even though he had the ACL injury. You're going to keep him, and they did. They gave him a big contract. You still have CeeDee Lamb, first-round pick from a couple of years ago. So Amari Cooper became a little bit expendable, I suppose. But then you look at the offensive line, which wasn't nearly the strength of the team that it had been in years past, and you lose 40% of your starters when Connor Williams and Lyle Collins leave via free agency. Then you let other guys go like Randy Gregory and Cedric Wilson. Like, they lost some pieces off of this team. And then you get into, like, the training camp season prep part, and then you lose your potential Hall of Fame left tackle Tyron Smith to an injury, might be for potentially the whole season, if not at least the vast majority of it. So it's going to feel like a bit of a different Cowboys team in 2022. I felt like they missed somewhat on their window of opportunity in 2021. It's always hard to know, though, with the Cowboys, because I have to be really conscientious of not allowing overexposure by media to bias too much one way or another here. So with the Cowboys, like I said, lots of changes. The Tyron Smith injury certainly doesn't help matters. You know, especially when you already let Connor Williams and Lyle Collins go from the offensive line. Still have Zach Martin, so that's something. But definitely going to be a different feeling Cowboys team here in 2022. And I still like a lot of the core of this team. Dak Prescott's a top 10 quarterback in the game. I think it's silly to argue against that. Where the argument comes in is whether you think he's just a franchise guy or if you think he's an elite guy. I think he's a franchise guy. I don't think he's an elite guy, but you can win Super Bowls with a franchise-level quarterback. It doesn't automatically have to be an elite guy. The Rams just won a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. Franchise guy, not elite, period. The running game with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, that combination, and throw in Dak as well, the Cowboys can really run the ball on a pretty consistent basis. Sometimes the question is are they better with Zeke Elliott as their primary ball carrier or Tony Pollard? And sometimes I wonder if it's Pollard. And then you look at the other parts of the offense. You look at the passing game, and you look at CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup once he comes back from the injury. That's a pretty damn good wide receiver duo. And then you got Dalton Schultz at tight end. Speaking of guys, they got to figure out whether they're going to pay long term or not. And then you've got on the defensive side of the ball a big play defense. You know, it wasn't just Trayvon Diggs in his interceptions last year, although that certainly didn't hurt. But this was a Cowboys team that could force a lot of turnovers, that could get a lot of heat on opposing quarterbacks. Those big plays can come in big handy. However, on the flip side of that, in terms of concerns for this team, talking about that secondary and being a big play defense, they can also give up big plays on defense. Sometimes it's a risk-reward, feast-famine type of deal with them. And if you're not forcing the turnovers, like if you're a defense that's heavily reliant on forcing turnovers, what happens when you don't force the turnovers? Eventually you're going to get exposed. So I have some questions about their secondary. And then I look at their offensive line. I already mentioned, no Connor Williams, no Lyle Collins, no Tyron Smith. You know, you're going to be trusting first-round pick Tyler Smith, it sounds like, at least initially, to be on the blind side, where you probably weren't looking for him to do that until at least 2023 or 2024. You're looking to have to do that now. So begs the question of, you know, how well are they going to be able to block in the running game? How well are they going to be able to protect Dak Prescott? I said, I like quite a bit of the core of this team, but I do have some fundamental questions about them. Looking at the schedule for them, the first 6 weeks is going to be pretty important on a couple of different levels. Number one, they've got some really tough games, it looks like, early in the season. Your first 2 games, for example, you're hosting Tampa Bay and you're hosting Cincinnati. Schedule makers did the Cowboys a favor here, gave them 2 tough matchups at home to start off the year. Then they go to New York to face the Giants, then come back home to face Washington. Then they have to travel to Los Angeles to take on the Rams and travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, which might be a monster game. You know, you look at that and you're saying, okay, the Buccaneers, the Bengals, the Rams, the Eagles were all playoff teams last year. The Bengals were conference champions. The Rams were Super Bowl champions. Not an easy start for the Cowboys. It's not. And then you look at the importance of, you got those divisional games, 3 of them in the first 6 weeks. Like, if you want to win the division, you want to get a home playoff game, you want to position yourself well potentially to get even a higher seed in the NFC playoff picture, you're going to have to take advantage of those games early on. Another big matchup for them is Week 10, having to go up to Lambeau to face Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. And you got later on in the season, Week 16, that matchup against the Eagles at home in Dallas could be a monster. Could potentially be with the division on the line. Then the next week they got to follow it up and go to Tennessee to take on the Titans. I think the Cowboys are a good team. You know, last year I thought they were going to be a good team. I was a little disappointed in the way they finished out the year based off of what I thought they could have done. I look at them this year and I say, I'm not going to be quite as bullish on them. They lost some key pieces. There's no other way to spin that. They've got a good core. I absolutely agree. Would it surprise me if they could come back and win 11 or 12 games and win this division? Absolutely not. But right now, with the number of pieces that they lost, no, I don't think so. I think I'm going to pick them second in the NFC East, probably win like 9 games.